Imagine trekking through the unforgiving mountains, driven by the promise of gold, only to be abandoned, starving, and then something far more horrific than death begins to unfold. What if the gold fever that gripped men's souls in the 19th century led not only to riches or ruin, but to an unspeakable act so primal and terrifying that society has tried to bury it forever? How did ambition, desperation, and the raw instinct for survival transform prospectors into monsters? And what truly happened in those snowbound camps where humanity frayed at the edges? To truly grasp the chilling reality of Gold Fever Cannibals, we need to transport ourselves back to a time when North America was still largely untamed, and the promise of instant wealth lured countless individuals into perilous journeys. This wasn't merely a quest for prosperity, it was an obsession, a delirium that blinded men to the dangers ahead. Gold rushes, from California to the Klondike, represented the ultimate gamble, a complete surrender to the lure of fortune. But beneath the glittering surface of opportunity lay a brutal truth. The wilderness was indifferent to human ambition, and its extremes could strip away civility faster than any pickaxe could unearth gold. Rivers swelled unexpectedly, supplies dwindled, and the brutal winter snows could trap entire expeditions, cutting them off from any hope of rescue. It was in these desperate frozen landscapes, where the line between life and death blurred with each passing hour, that some of the most horrifying tales of human survival began to emerge. These weren't isolated incidents, but rather a recurring, dark undercurrent in the history of exploration and expansion. The question isn't just if it happened, but how these men, driven by dreams, found themselves in situations where the ultimate taboo became their only option. The wilderness didn't just break bodies, it broke minds, unraveling the very fabric of human decency, leaving behind a legacy of whispered horrors and unresolved questions about the depths of human endurance and depravity. The most infamous of these tales began with a simple, yet catastrophic, oversight. Picture the Donner Party, a group of pioneers heading west in 1846. They chose a supposedly shorter route through the Sierra Nevada, a decision that would seal their horrific fate. Caught in an early, unprecedented blizzard, they found themselves trapped, their wagons buried, their livestock dead. Starvation became a relentless, chilling companion. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, their supplies dwindled to nothing. The first to die were buried in the snow, but as hunger intensified, a grim transformation began. The accounts are fragmented, whispered horrors of what transpired as bodies were exhumed, not for reburial, but for sustenance. The meat of those who had succumbed became the last, desperate hope for the living. Of the 87 people who started, only 47 survived, many haunted by the unspeakable acts they had committed to live. Then there's the even more unsettling case of Alfred Packer, a prospector in 1874. Packer, with 5 companions, set out into the San Juan Mountains of Colorado, seeking untold riches. When only Packer returned, emaciated and evasive, the initial relief quickly turned to suspicion. His story, riddled with inconsistencies, painted a picture of a gradual decline, of starvation and madness, and ultimately of survival at the most unthinkable cost. He initially claimed his companions abandoned him, but the details never quite added up. He was discovered with money seemingly belonging to his lost companions, sparking immediate suspicion. These weren't just stories of natural disaster, they were chronicles of human will pushed beyond its breaking point, where the pursuit of gold ultimately led to something far more valuable than gold itself. Life, purchased at the highest, most horrifying price imaginable. The psychological toll of these events is almost impossible to comprehend. Not just the act itself, but the lingering guilt, the condemnation, and the knowledge of what one was capable of when truly desperate. These narratives serve as chilling reminders of the thin veneer of civilization in the face of primal hunger. Now let's delve deeper into the chilling specifics of Alfred Packer's story, a tale that pushes the boundaries of human depravity and deception. Packer, known as the Colorado Cannibal, initially claimed self-defense. He spun a narrative where his companions, driven mad by hunger, turned on each other. He told tales of one man, Bell, supposedly going insane, killing the others, and then Packer, in a moment of desperate defense, retaliating. He described a chaotic scene, a blur of snow and blood, where only the strongest and perhaps the most cunning could survive. For a time, his story held a fragile credibility, especially among those who understood the brutal realities of the winter wilderness. Rescue parties eventually found the campsite in the spring, a scene that would forever embed itself in the darkest corners of American folklore. 5 bodies, mutilated beyond recognition, lay scattered amidst the remnants of a fire. The axe marks on their skulls told a gruesome, unambiguous story, not of a chaotic struggle, but of a methodical, brutal killing. Limbs were severed, flesh stripped away. It was clear these men hadn't just died. They had been butchered for food. Confronted with this irrefutable evidence and under intense interrogation, Packer's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. He recanted his earlier story, offering a different, albeit equally horrific, confession. He admitted that Bell had indeed killed 1 or 2 of the others while they were foraging for food, but then Packer himself had shot Bell. In this new version, he confessed to consuming the flesh of his fallen comrades over several weeks, rationalizing it as his only means of survival. The details, as they emerged, were stomach-churning. Bits of human flesh, bone fragments, and other grim evidence were discovered at the scene, leaving no doubt about the acts that had transpired. He described the process with a chilling detachment, a man recounting a dire necessity rather than a heinous crime. His trial was a sensation, a macabre spectacle that captivated and repulsed the nation. Packer was ultimately convicted of murder, an outcome that brought some measure of justice, but did little to explain the full horror of his actions. Was it pure desperation, or did something darker, more predatory, awaken within him in those desolate mountains? To this day, the tales of the Gold Fever Cannibals, particularly that of Alfred Packer, remain unsettling chapters in human history. They force us to confront uncomfortable questions about the limits of human morality and survival. When all societal constructs crumble under the weight of extreme hunger and isolation, what truly remains of our humanity? Were these acts of cannibalism purely a desperate measure to cling to life? Or did the isolation and the primal struggle for existence strip away deeper layers of individual psyche, revealing something far more sinister? We often romanticize the pioneers and prospectors, but these stories remind us of the immense, often horrifying cost of their ambition and resilience. The bodies found, the confessions recounted, and the whispers that still echo through those cold mountains serve as a stark warning. The wilderness doesn't just offer riches, it demands an ultimate price, often one too terrible to comprehend. The truth of what truly happened in those snowbound camps, beyond the bare facts of survival and death, remains largely buried with the victims, a chilling testament to the darkest side of the human spirit when pushed to its absolute breaking point. If you want more spine-chilling historical mysteries, my next video explores the unexplained disappearances in the Alaska Triangle and what cryptids might be lurking there. Stay tuned.